Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and we've got a real treat for us today. A few weeks ago, you got to meet some of the people that are instrumental in providing some wonderful services and programs at the Museum of the Southwest. We had the director of the Blakemore Planetarium, and we had the woman who heads up the Children's Museum, and heard all about all of the exciting things that are happening there. But we didn't really get into the full picture of the Museum of the Southwest. And so it was my excitement when I understood that the new executive director had been hired. And so we asked him to come and introduce himself to the public, and also the person that heads the committee that was responsible for bringing him here. Jamie Alexander has been on the board of directors, or the board of trustees of the museum, for a couple of years, and she was chairman of the search committee that brought Brian Wisenhunt to the Museum of the Southwest as executive director. So before we get into things about the Museum of the Southwest, I'd like Jamie to start with you and just have you talk about the process of replacing an executive director and what all your board went through, and also a little bit about you and how did you get to the Museum of the Southwest.
Well, thank you for having us on today. I have been in Midland almost 4 years. My husband and I relocated out here from Dallas. Originally I'm from Orlando, Florida, so it's quite a different climate to me, but I love it. Midland is just a great place with great people. And shortly after moving out here, I made some friends that got me involved in volunteering at the museum, and eventually I joined the board, and I've been on the board for about 2 years now. Last summer, late summer, we started the search process for a new executive director, and we really wanted to take our time. We wanted to make sure that the person that came in to that position loved the museum and realized what a gem it was to Midland and the Permian Basin. And we really took our time vetting a lot of candidates, and ultimately we think we chose the perfect person in Brian. And we're just so excited to have him come and lead the museum, with the campus having 4, aspects to it, of the planetarium, the children's museum, the sculpture garden, and the art museum. I think
yes,
Brian's
it's a huge complex.
It is, and I think Brian is just going to take it to the next level for Midland.
But now, you have some very valuable skills and training to help you in this job as the search chairman.
Right. My background is human resource management. I have a certification in PHR, which just is a professional human resource certification. So I was asked by the board to chair that committee, since I also chair the human resource committee for the board, and I enjoyed doing it.
And you had a committee of 5?
We had 5 other people besides myself, so a committee of 6. And we had a lot of fun. In fact, I ran into one of the search committee members yesterday and kind of said we needed to have like a get-together. We missed seeing each other. So.
But you were fortunate in that you had some really, really good applicants.
We had great applicants, and the other thing is we had a phenomenal search committee. Every single member on the committee has a background in a different aspect of the arts or business or the nonprofit world. So everybody was able to bring an interesting aspect to the table in reviewing all the candidates, and I think that's what made the selection process so thorough. Is we knew that everybody was really, really paying attention to every part of it.
And Brian, let's get to you now.
Okay.
Tell us your background and where you came from and what made you apply here.
Sure. I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and so in the neighborhood at least. And I went to.
It's a little different than coming from Orlando, Florida.
A little closer than Orlando. I went to the University of Oklahoma, and my undergraduate and graduate degrees are both in art history. And I've been working in museums, particularly museum education, and then as an executive director for almost 14 years.
Oh, good.
So I started my career in Kansas, and I was at the Wichita Art Museum for 7 years. And then I was hired to be the first manager of public programs at the Blanton Museum of Art at the University of Texas, and opened their new building, and was a part of that whole process.
Yes, how wonderful.
It was a great experience, and I loved being at UT. And from there, I was recruited to be the 10th executive director at the Swope Art Museum, which is in Indiana. So I moved up to the Midwest for about 3 years and had really enjoyed the work there in the museum, but was looking for a new experience, some new challenges, and a different institution. And so when I saw the posting for the Museum of the Southwest, I thought with its interdisciplinary campus and so many resources, it seemed like it would be a really great match for me. So.
And the establishment of that museum and the support it's had over the years just makes it a plum of a job, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think there's a great support, and it does so much for the community, and I think there's a lot of potential there too.
But the interesting thing is you have inherited a great staff.
Absolutely.
An enthusiastic staff. You've got a great board. I mean, you just got really a bird nest on the ground.
I think you're absolutely correct. So.
And one of the things I wanted us to talk about while you're here is especially your view, and yours too, as an outsider coming into West Texas. Did you expect this level of sophistication and diversity that you found?
Well, I have to say I'm not a complete outsider, Johnny Lou. My mother was raised in Pecos, Texas.
Oh my goodness.
So
yes.
She and her family moved there when she was a child, and my grandfather had businesses and farming interests in the Pecos area for about 25 years.
And so you understand their love for history and all
absolutely.
of that. Yeah.
So I have a family background here, and this part of the country is very, even though none of my family currently live here, it's definitely very important to us as part of our family history and our heritage.
But when your family comes to visit, they say, "Wow, this is an oasis in the desert."
It really is. And my mom was out here in May, and she still lives in Florida, and she just loved, there was no humidity, and I kept saying, you need to drink a lot of water there, Mom, because you'll dehydrate. And yeah, it's definitely beautiful. One of my dear girlfriends laughed the first time I said, it's the prettiest sunset I've ever seen is out here in the desert, because there's nothing to block the view. It's just raw nature. And it's just, I think all the Midlanders and the people who live here just take that appreciation for the area. And I think that, the museum itself is a reflection of the Southwestern style, but it still brings other cultural aspects from outside in. And I think that's what's so wonderful about the supporters of the museum, the love that they give to the museum.
And when you're talking about the supporters, you're not talking about just Midland or just Midland, Odessa. You're talking about all the way from Sanderson to Crane and Seminole and Hobbs, New Mexico.
Absolutely, not just the Permian region, but I think nationally. I mean, we have people that have lived in Midland for a long time and have either relocated or been transferred to other places, and they still love and support the museum. We're
going to have to take a break right now, but we'll be back in just a minute and continue this conversation with Brian and Jamie.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be